And hello. Welcome to the next episode of Burn the Golden Calf. Guys, usually there is somebody backstage doing all the stuff, and today it's just me. And so if you see stuff being a little bit delayed, a little bit of this, and a little bit, that is why. That is why. Your girl is running the show solo, and I'm not as good at it as Liz, but we're going to keep going. I am so excited today. We are going to be discussing love, and I could not think of anyone better to co-host a topic like this with me than someone who has been in my life for nearly 20 years, somebody that I love dearly, someone who has taught me so much about love, my bestie, my twin flame, Loida D. Garcia. Welcome, Loida.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
It is so good to have you here.
I'm so glad to be here. I'm so excited. It's the perfect topic for us.
It really is. It really is, because this has been our journey this entire time. So for those of you who do not know Loida, and that will probably be most of you, Loida and I met in college when we were both working in the college library, and we bonded over our shared love of theater. That was, I think, the biggest one.
That was the biggest one. Yeah.
The shared creativity, the ideas, the wackiness, the food.
Oh my God, food.
The grapes, the bread, just all the things. All the things.
The kettle corn.
Yes. I had never had kettle corn before you. Oh, and then Cinderella. I had not seen that before you.
Yes. And that's our movie.
That is our movie. That is our thing now. Impossible. Things are happening every day. Y'all, listen, when my friends come on, you see a different side of me. Yeah, you saw when listen, different side of me. I'm going to be giggly today. I'm going to be all the things today. Because my friend is here. My bestie's here. Man. And so, over this journey, we have had many highs and lows. We had a few years where we weren't even in each other's life for a while.
Yep.
And so I think that there has been a lot that we have learned about love, through life and then in doing life together. So let's start here. how would you define love?
Ooh, I would define love as our instinct, honestly, because if you look at
Hmm.
instincts, our first instinct's always to help the other person, be there for somebody else,
Mm.
to support. When there's a car accident, you see everybody stop and try to help each other out. Like, that's love, and
Mm.
love is also a choice, especially when it comes towards specific people. You choose to love them because love requires work too. While there is that instinct, in order to like feed it and have it grow, it requires work. That's a choice.
This is true. This is true. And I want to touch on something you said, because I think that there is in our society this idea that people are not innately loving, that
Mm-mm.
people are not innately, giving and selfless and concerned about others. But when we do the research, people really are.
They really are.
Yeah, that they will, go out of the way for someone else, that they will help, that they will look out for one another. That while the bystander effect is a thing,
Mm-hmm.
more likely than not, people do want to help. We got a
Absolutely.
comment from Joan who said, "Love is a principle." Yes, yes, absolutely agree. I mean, for me, my definition of love is to be fully seen, fully known, and fully accepted.
Oh, I love
Um,
that.
right?
I love
Because
that.
there are people who will say that they love you, but they don't know you. And how do you love me if
But
you
that's
don't actually know me? Go ahead.
but that's the instinctual part of it, because you
Okay,
can,
okay.
like, for example, a baby, a little kid, a toddler, they might not
Mm,
know, the strange aunt that they've never met before, that they're seeing for the first time, but they
mm,
automatically have a bond with them, or the
mm.
stranger, or the animal that they see. You see that they automatically go and they try to give it love and affection, or like, so there is that instinctual side of love that we're born with. The other stuff, the fear, the everything else, that's the part that's taught, that's learned. Love is who we are and what we are. Everything else is just stuff that interrupts it,
This
in
is
my
true.
opinion.
Well, well, no, that's good. And we have a great comment from Jason, who said, "One challenge of love in English is that we only have one word for love." And that's a
Yes.
biggie.
Yes. And
That's a biggie.
as a Cuban, I can even say that, because there's te quiero, which I love you, and then there's te amo, which is also I love you. Like, while te
Mm.
amo is used more on a relationship,
Mhm.
kind of thing, while te quiero is used more like that instinctual, like, I care for you, I love you, kind of thing. So yes, English only has one word.
This is true, and it's very easy for this word to apply to many things. Like, I love pizza, but obviously I don't love pizza in the same way that I love you, and I don't love you the same way I
Exactly.
love my dog. But we use the word love for all of it, so that's true. That's
Exactly.
very true. Let me pull this one down there. Yeah, and I think that does complicate things. That in English we only have this one word that describes a very wide field of emotions for
Hmm.
a lot of different things and people, but all of it is defined as love.
Love. And we're not necessarily taught the difference either. We're just
This is
taught love. We're just
true.
taught the word, oh, that's love. You love that, or you love that. But we're not taught the actual differences.
And there is a difference. There
Hmm.
is a difference in how we love. Now, I will say one of the the biggest things that shifted my perspective on love, and I don't know how many people are watching here who like anime. I'm very much a newbie. Please do not get here thinking, no, I do not. I do not. I am a storyteller, and so I love the stories. That's it. I just can't remember the names, but I love the story. And so in Vinland Saga, they have a running story about what is love. And they're having debates like this. Two brothers are arguing, okay, well, what is love here? And they come to a point where a priest says that none of the things that they think of as love really are love. He says that often what we consider love is actually discrimination. That I take this
Oh,
one thing and I say this one thing is more important
than
than
the
all
other.
the other things. Yeah. And that if we are truly to love, that love says all things have equal value. That all things are to be cared for and cherished and valued. And we're not going to discriminate that this one thing is more. And it's like,
I had never thought about it that way.
I never had either.
Oh,
I never
that's a
had
good one.
either. And it really challenged me because for most of us, that is our definition of love. That there is, this food or this pet or this person that is more valuable and important to me than everybody else. And I define this as love.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh.
And that automatically causes you to undervalue and see the other as not important. So it's easier to do the awful things or to just ignore the other.
Exactly. And we live in a world that does that. That says, well, a dog is of more value than a pig,
Mm-hmm.
An Israeli is of more value than a Palestinian. An
Mm-hmm.
American is of more value than an immigrant, a
Yep.
white is more value than a minority. And it comes back to the fact that we are not seeing everyone as equal and we're not loving everyone as equal.
Correct.
Which is hard.
It is. It is. And it's especially hard when it dawns on you that, oh my God, you've been doing that in a way where you didn't even realize that you were doing it. Because now that when you mention that whole thing, oh, you're discriminating against something else, if you're picking something to love, I'm like, oh, that hits. Ooh, I'm going to have to sit with that one for a bit. We're going to be rehashing that one at some point on our days.
I'll send you the clip. I will send you the clip.
Send me the clip because it's like that's a bit of an eye opener, a bit of a, oh, okay.
I was watching a commentary about this particular clip, and they referenced this guy. I cannot remember his name, but he was one of these people who took that idea to what most of us would say are the extremes. Because somebody asked him, was like, well, if you could save 5 children, but it would cost the life of your child, would you sacrifice your child? And he was like, yes. And they were like, that's the wrong answer. You're not
There is,
supposed to say that.
but the thing is, like, there really is. That's one of those questions that there is no right or wrong answer.
There you go.
Because the life of those 5 children are just as important as that one, but the life of that one is just as important as the life of the 5. And when we look at it, oh, one way or the other, that's going to cause those issues of othering and just being okay with things happening to other people. What if we didn't have to choose? What if, we're given 2 choices, but what if we're just not being told that there's another choice?
Let's see. Joan said, in that case, you would have no specific love for your partner because love is love. You can love everyone equally. Now, I'm not sure if she means that in a positive or a negative.
Yeah, please clarify that one.
So, Joan, you may need to clarify that for us.
No, I can totally, I understand how it's written, but I just want to make sure I don't misunderstand her intention.
Exactly.
Please, Joan, elaborate. Join in on the combo.
And hello, Joshua. Yeah, it becomes this challenge to love. And like you were saying, love is a choice, and love takes effort.
Love takes effort, absolutely. Even the love for everyone takes effort, because it takes effort to be like, okay, that other is maybe doing something that you don't necessarily agree with for whatever reason, but you might not agree with them, you might not like what they do, you might not condone what they do, but that doesn't mean you can't still love them.
Right.
And in the same way that there's different words for love, there's different types of love. So you can have a love for everyone, but that's not going to be bleeding into the love that you have for your partner, you have for your child, you have, because that's a completely different level. That's a completely different thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the love for your partner and your child or your family or your friend, that does not need to take away from the love you can have from everybody else either. This is not a either or situation.
Yeah. Now, one thing that Joan said that she mentioned, and it has become quite a slogan, and I feel that, and I thought about it like after the fact, that some people might have looked at the graphic and thought we were going to be discussing
Oh yeah.
love is love, and we're at some point in the future we are going to cover LGBTQ. We are going to do that. That's
This
not
is
for
not
today.
this is not the time though.
Yes, yes, we're not covering that, but I think that we do need to address. So obviously we do discuss, some of these topics in the context of faith. And one of the things that the Christian faith teaches is that God is love, and everyone who loves knows God. And it is interesting, for me, recognizing how challenging it is to love consistently, over long periods of time, through changes, and love is challenging, and it challenges me to look at the world and say people are loving, like
Mm-hmm.
people who are not Christians are still able to love. People who are not heterosexual are still able to
Mm-hmm.
love. And if we are saying that God is love and that everybody who loves, knows God, then this is something that is, while it is innate to us, I think it is something that is almost greater than us, because
Mm-hmm.
while love is innate, wanting my own way is also innate. Wanting to have the last word is also innate. And so when I am able to rise above the innate parts of myself that are less lovely and less loving, and I am able to do that in a way that sustains someone else for a long period of time,
Mm-hmm.
during times when perhaps they are not being lovely. It's like that, to me, speaks to a universality. That's not a word. A
It is now.
Yeah, it speaks to an inclusivity of love, that love does not belong to one religion, to one faith, to one gender. It belongs to everyone, and everyone is capable of having and experiencing love.
And that doesn't even just stop at our species either, because you can
Mm.
see love transcending into other species.
Ooh, I love that. Go there. Go there.
Like, it's the same thing. Like, for example, if you look at a mother who just had a baby, regardless of species,
Mm.
not counting outliers, because there's always
Yeah,
going to
there
be
are
outliers,
outliers. Yes.
the reaction's always the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's this automatic bond that they have. And
Yes.
it's not just a protection. It's, it's pride in this baby growing and making it. It's joy that, you have this brand new little baby. It's like all these feelings and all this love. They're all the same regardless of species, which is why it's so hard. Like, for example, when you look at the meat and dairy industry, and where the baby calves are being taken away from the mom, immediately the pain and the suffering and the
Yes.
cries are no different than it would be if it was a baby being taken from a human mother. So
Mm-hmm.
love doesn't stop at the human species. Love
I love that
transcends
point. I
into
love
all
that
species.
point.
So we're not the only ones. If in the Christian faith you have that, loving is knowing God, okay,
Mm.
then that means that other species can know God
Mm.
as well, because they
Mm.
love. And if God is love and they love, then that means they know God as well.
Mm. I love that. I love that.
There's
Like,
there's there's no need to monopolize it to just humans.
no, that is an excellent point. Like, I'm thinking of that picture of the two penguins watching fireworks, And apparently penguins mate for life.
For
And
life.
both these penguins had lost their partners. One
Mm-hmm.
was an older female penguin, one was a younger male penguin. And they were like, every night, these two penguins would meet to just sit together and watch. And it was like,
And that's love.
and that is love.
Because love
That
is
is
an
love.
act as well. It's not just a feeling. You know,
Yeah.
like love is companionship, love is taking care of each other, love is supporting one another. Love is an action more than a feeling, because there's going to be days where you know you love your husband or you know you love your kid, but my God, you don't feel it right then and there because you really don't like them at the moment.
Mm.
So, love, while the feeling of love is amazing, love isn't a feeling per se.
Mm-hmm.
Love is an action, it's a way of being.
And I personally believe that none of us really know to our depth that we are loved
Mm-hmm.
till we experience love in moments we know we don't deserve it.
Correct.
When we
Correct.
know that we haven't earned it, that, you know, we have done things that should have pushed stuff away, and love says, no, I'm still here.
Mm-hmm.
No, I do not like what you're doing. I don't love your choices, but I am here
I'm
for
still
you.
here. Correct.
I am not
Correct.
walking away. I'm not leaving. Yeah.
And that is when we have to let love in.
Go ahead, tell that
I'm,
story. Tell that story. Go ahead.
I'm bringing it back. Oh no, I'm like, you tell it. I'm just your sounding board. Listen, this
So this is
woman
one of
right
these
over
moments.
here, this woman right over here is gold. And Danielle, you're like a fucking, like, I'm sorry, didn't mean to cuss. You're honestly an angel on earth. You don't see it, that's totally fine. You don't have to.
Mm.
But you are the biggest ball of love that I have ever seen, but you have the hardest time in letting others in to love you, especially when you don't feel that you are worth it at that time, like you just said.
Mm.
And that's the time where you need to allow us in. And you've been doing that. You've been getting a lot better at that, because in the same way that you love me during my, you know, medication withdrawals, during my chaos, during my abusive relationships, during everything. And you never judged me. You might not have liked my choices or my decisions or whatever, but you were always there.
Mm.
You got to allow that in too. Love
You
is
gotta be
not just giving out, love is receiving too. It's a two-way thing.
You're gonna have me crying on here now. Oh my goodness.
Oh, I can keep going if you want to cry.
So the backstory. The backstory here. As many of you, I've been fairly open, you know, with my healing journey, and coming to a place of realizing that love was always available, that there were people who would have been there, people who would have loved me, supported me, helped me, you know, had I been in a place to open the door and let it in. And Loida was one of those people who just was hammering this mantra, like, it is there, let it in, let love in. I mean, for almost like a year.
Yeah, that was a good solid year of me like trying to drill that in.
Yeah,
To just get you to ease up. It's just like, just unclench for a second. just unclench just for a tiny second.
It's like, your world is not going to fall apart. You will be okay. It's like, and it's like, you know, you open the door, but you have like the little chains over it. You're peeking out, like, who's there? What's out there? And it's like,
well, just to get you to even open the door with the chain was.
That was a lot. It was a lot. Yeah.
But
yeah.
you did that, and I believe that the first time you did that was allowing a local good friend of yours in to assist you in a personal matter that you were having at home. And it was a matter that you were so scared of and so like just almost ashamed of.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. Yeah, that's the word. Yeah.
And there was, and you You let that door open just enough to let that friend in. And that's the moment, because I remember you messaging me and you're like, I did it. I let her come and help me. And I was like, you let love in. Like, that's love. You also loved her enough to trust her. Because love is also trust. And since that little crack, you feel like I've seen you undo the chain. And yeah, you're not fully out the door and don't have it completely open, but that baby's getting there. And each day I can see progress, and it's amazing.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
absolutely amazing to watch you allow yourself to be loved. And not in
Mm,
a just romantic way that we usually are like taught. That's,
yeah.
as adults, that's the only love we're going to get. That's not true. Wow, I
Yeah.
am doing good at not cussing. Woo, only once so
I'm
far.
so proud of you. Woo!
Because you know me. So, but no, like, love is not just giving, love is also receiving.
Mm. This is that, listen. And I think coming from a Christian perspective, I think this is something that a lot of people of faith struggle with,
Mm-hmm.
because our rearing, our conditioning is to be other focused, that you prefer others to yourself. It is better to give than to receive. We would sing songs like, Jesus first, yourself last, others in
Mm-hmm.
between.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always about, others. And I've even heard people say, well, self-love isn't biblical. It's not the Bible about, loving yourself. But there is. The command says that we need to love others as we love ourselves. And I think many of us really struggle with loving others because we have not learned to love ourselves.
And not just that you haven't learned, but you haven't been allowed to learn. And going
Mm,
back on the others, putting others
mm.
first, have you ever thought that maybe you're somebody else's other? You're somebody else's other. So while you have others to you that you give love to, you're somebody else's other that you need to allow them to give you love, or you're not giving them the opportunity to be loved.
My my word. You know what? I'm going to pull myself together. We're going to take a little tangent. Mocha, thank you for this little tangent. Mocha just said, I may go off subject for just 1 second. Loida's voice is way too soothing. How am I expected to stay awake? I have been sitting here thinking the exact same thing. It's like, I sound so loud next to her.
Mocha, you better be glad that I'm pretty much whispering, because just ask Danielle in real life. I am beyond loud. Like, the scale on here, I'm like up there between being hyperactive, ADHD, theater kid, and Cuban. I'm just
Oh,
whispering.
my
But
goodness.
thank you. You're welcome.
But yeah, your voice has been amazing.
Oh, thanks.
Amazing.
Thanks. I'll be here all night.
But I agree. I do agree that I had honestly till this moment never thought of myself as the other. I never had. And I'm pretty sure if I haven't, there are many who haven't had that thought either. But it's
So,
like,
so, so
yeah,
here's a question for you. Is this putting others first a matter of like a way of looking at it as in being of service in a
yeah,
sense? Okay.
yes,
Well,
uh,
and that goes for, people in your community, people in your spiritual faith, people in your church. That's what being of service is, right? They're the
mm,
other. You,
mm,
you know.
yeah,
Okay. Well, I mean, you are part of that community. You are part of that church. You are part of that group. You're not the only person. Like, the world doesn't revolve around just the one person. So that means that you are somebody else's NPC, what we call a non-player character for gamer people like me. You are somebody else's other. So yes, you have your role to take care of, your other people,
mm,
but you have to allow the other people to take care of you too, and to be there for you as well. because you have to fill your cup before you can, like this is going to be one of those like perpetual little waterfall things that one cup feeds to the other, that feeds to the other, that feeds to the other, but you're not going to get fed into if you don't allow it in. That'll be $50 for your therapy session. I
Yes.
take cash up and then okay. I'm kidding. Just playing. What do you guys think though? Like honestly, like because Danielle and I have been talking a lot about this. Because we'll get on tangents. Like I'm curious to see, what your guys' opinion is on that. I might be totally off base. Again, all I'm saying is just my opinion from my experience, which is very different than yours. So even though we've been each other's twin and soulmate and best friend and everything for 2 decades, our experiences are still different. We're still coming from different perspectives, and our current, life and everything like that is different. So while that makes sense in my head, that not necessarily mean that it's, like I'm right. I'm just
well, no, I will say that my life has been very enriched by having the presence of someone like you who is, coming from a different perspective. I'll tell you when I first realized that there was a difference, but that could help with growth. So, and this was early in our friendship, back when we were still in school.
Oh, bring it back to our baby selves.
Yes. And I had been somewhere and I found this little fairy pin, and it actually had like the wings that moved and stuff. And I saw it and I'm like, Loida. This is Loida. He would love this. I'm going to get this for Loida. And then I was so excited to give you this little pen that I'm like, hey, look, I'm going to come out to your place. I'm going to bring it to you because you live like way out.
Yeah. We were on 2 totally different ends of the city.
2 totally different sides. And I'm like, no, I'm coming. I've got something special to give you. And I drove out there and I was so excited that I did not notice how nervous you were. And I'm like, yeah, I've got this thing for you. And I pulled it out and I handed it to you and you took it. And there was this huge sigh of relief. And you're just like, oh, I thought you were coming to give me like a track or something. And I was so startled because like it had never crossed my mind that it had never crossed my mind to try to, evangelize or proselytize. That hadn't crossed my mind. And so because it hadn't crossed my mind, it had never occurred to me that it would cross yours. And it's like, well, no, of course I wouldn't do that because that's not who you are. That's not what, you would find valuable. And because I value you, if I'm going to give you something, I need to give you something that you would like, that you would find valuable. Yeah. To speak your language.
It meant so much. And the fear that I had wasn't towards you. It was just a trigger from past traumas because I haven't had the best experience with Christianity in my life. I've had very toxic, abusive experiences with churches and such. So that's always been something that's like, especially then. I mean, I was a baby.
So far since then, yeah.
Like you have been a great help at that because you showed me. Oh yeah, no, she is what they are supposed to be. Like you want the epitome of what a Christian looks like. I know in the most positive of ways. Like and having you in my life as somebody of your faith and you're strong in that faith too, like has been such a big help to me and my trauma that I've had about that faith, that it's just like, oh, and now like we use like, for example, like if I'm sorry guys, I jump around a lot. I'm so sorry. Like when we talk to each other, like if you're going to be talking to me, you say the universe, because that's the terminology that I use. Yeah. While if I'm talking to you about something for you personal, I'm like God, and I love how we code switch like that for each other to prevent, any possible triggers, even if there aren't any, just because it's a respect thing and it's a love thing. you know? And you have helped me so much with that.
Because I remember when we were talking about something that I was going through once, and you were like, well, have you tried praying about it? And it was like, what did you say? It was like, oh my goodness. It meant
Because
so much.
because
Yeah.
it's an important part of you and your life.
Mm.
You know, why would I? And it's a positive, important part of you and your life. It's not, you're not stuck in the mentality that happens a lot of cult like mentality. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, you know, you don't come from that point. So why would I try to, you know, change it up? You know, why would I say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, have you tried meditating about it? Not that that would be a, you know, a bad thing to
A bad
say,
thing,
but
but yeah.
what would resonate more with you would be prayer. And it's honestly, it's the same thing. It's just a different, you know, like it's a different word for it. In my opinion, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But prayer is important to you.
Mm-hmm.
You grew up with prayer. That's a, you know, like that's a comfort and a way to process things. So yeah, of course I'm going to be like, hey, dig into that bag of scraps and pull out prayer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How many of
Absolutely.
our terminology can we slip in?
But I mean, this is one of the things that I have loved about our friendship is that we have both been very intentional about making room for each other. And this is part of what I have learned about loving, because like I said, when I brought you that pin and you had that reaction, it was realizing that had I done what you thought I was about to do, I would have, unknowingly broken trust in a certain way.
Yes.
I would have, led you to think that there was a certain part of you that couldn't be safe with me. And that to love someone is to be, again, aware of who they are and not try to change them. I think that's one thing that's been huge in our friendship, that even though we come from two very different perspectives in some areas, there's never been a thing of, well, you are wrong for where you
No.
are and you need to change and come over to the side. It's been like, no, this is your journey. This is where you are. I understand exactly why you're where you are, and I value you for where you are.
And we
Yeah,
cheer each other on. We cheer each
absolutely.
other on and we support each other, even if it's stuff that one, you know, like we might roll our eyes on because it's not okay, it's not really my thing, or I don't really fully understand it. But if it's important to you,
Mm.
why wouldn't I support you? You know, it's
Like the
important to
time.
you. You're not hurting anyone, you know. Like it's a positive thing. So why would I not support you or cheer you on or validate you? I love you. Like, of course, I'm gonna, you know, like, let's do this. Rah, rah, rah. What can I do from my side? You know, let's figure this out together. I'll pull in from my experience, you pull in from yours, and, you know, we'll make it work.
Yeah, or at the time we went on that ridiculously long hike, the 7 mile one.
Oh my God, that felt like it wasn't gonna end. It was amazing though, but oh my God,
It
it felt
was.
like it
I'm
wasn't gonna
glad we
end.
did it. But there comes, if anybody is a hiker, there comes a point in a hike where you're like, why do I think this is fun? Why am I doing this? And then you get another point. It's like, yeah, that's why. For this view, for this, yeah. But yeah, there was. We went for the hike Saturday, and I think we had like just started hiking, and you were like, wait, it's Saturday. Like, don't you have to be at church?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was like, well, no, because you've driven all this way, like 13, 14 hours, to spend this weekend with me. I am not going to, burn a weekend, spending time apart. And I know that church isn't your thing. And church is not the only place or way to worship. Love is what's holy, fellowship and communion is what is holy. And so, yeah, let's go for a hike. Let's go to the original chapel.
Yeah, like in a way that is church. We were
Yeah.
communing with nature. We were doing something active that takes care of our human temple, our personal human avatar temple. We, you know, were being there for each other, and we had conversations that were equal
Oh,
and on par to, you know, learning from a preacher, a pastor, or whatever. because you and I
Mm.
always delve into religious
Yes.
stuff, into like we break things down. I think that was the same day after the hike that you showed me the video
Yes.
of
Which was
like I think you showed
huge.
me with like two
Which was
seconds, and
huge
it's
when
like
you were
the
able to watch
fact that I
that.
was because I trusted you. I
Mm.
knew that you were going to be exposing me to something that was going to be triggering. I knew that you had vetted it before and that it was
Mhm.
going to be information that I was like, oh, no, that's cool. I can take that and I can use it
Mhm.
without feeling, like the trigger. And it
Yeah.
did. Like, I was like, oh, I learned so much about your faith that day. It's like, oh, I
Mm.
see this other side of it. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's actually the way I kind of do things. I just name things differently or whatever. Like, that's pretty awesome,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And it was lovely. So, in a sense, you still had a sermon, you still had church.
And then we waited and we after Sabbath was over, we went and got some food, and it was wonderful. And I genuinely love it. And there's some people, that when I tell them about you and everything, they're like, that's different. Like, how does that work? And I'm like, trust me, it
Well,
works. It
it's,
works.
we are the epitome of loving and understanding each other and just
Yeah.
supporting each other while being completely different people.
Yes.
And the difference never was a problem. Like for me, I don't even like. Yeah, I know there's a difference, but I don't like it doesn't mean anything. You're of one faith. I'm of my own weird thing that's constantly evolving, and none of that's a problem. And we
Mm.
help each other in our own growth.
Yeah. One of the things the Bible says is that perfect love casts out fear. And I love that because when we love and when we are experiencing perfect love with this, it's like, I know I am safe.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry. I'm not concerned. It's like, I know that nobody's trying to manipulate me, that
Mm-hmm.
nobody's trying to hurt me, that no one will deliberately trigger me. In this space, I don't have to be afraid of anything.
And
I'm
it's
going to be good.
and it's beautiful because when we don't have to be afraid and we feel safe, then we're open. And then
Mm,
that's when we can commune more. That's where
yeah.
we open ourselves to, like, we break down those barriers so we can learn something that maybe we wouldn't have learned because we would have been so scared
Hmm.
that we would have never brought down that wall or opened that door,
Yeah.
just because we were afraid,
Mm,
But having you, like, at least for me, for Christianity, like I go to you all the time and I'm like, hey, what does the Bible say about this? And then we're like, and like we discuss it and we go like in depth on stuff, or sometimes it's something shallow. It doesn't matter. Like, I know that I'm safe to go to you.
mm.
And hey, what's that perspective? And oh, that perspective isn't as different as my perspective. Oh, okay, I had a false idea of what it was. Thank you for correcting me.
And
Kind of thing. And it happens a lot.
I've learned so much from our discussions. Like, because when you ask the question, it's like, okay, let me think about this. And then you ask another question, it's like, I had not thought of that. Okay. Like, okay, okay, give me let me think, give me a beat. Okay. Let me come back to that. And it's been I'm so grateful. Like I said, when I thought about talking about love, it's like, it has to be Loida. It has to be Loida. It's gotta be Loida.
Yeah, we're each other's loves of our lives. Like
There you go.
you're the love of my life, and
There you go. And I think you touched on this briefly earlier, that often when we think about love, it is in a romantic context. That love is meant to come wrapped in Prince Charming, or
mm-hmm.
this right or whatever, and that is the love that you are looking for.
And that's the only love you're allowed to have as an adult,
Exactly.
other than the love
Exactly.
for your children.
Particularly if you're a man.
Yes. Oh my
Particularly if
God,
you're a man.
my heart breaks so much for men and the weird rules. And
Mm.
I'm not even touching upon faith related rules, just societal.
Yes.
It's just like, oh, it does, like, it's such a disservice and it's so toxic and harmful. And I'm so sorry. I'm
Because
so
it
sorry.
cuts us off. it really cuts us off from love. Oh, I almost missed it. Mocha shared a story with us. I'm going to
Okay.
read her story. I'm gonna come back. She said, y'all know I have stories for days. Go ahead. So I was at this place where the love of God, love your neighbor, and especially your enemies was being pushed. But the facilitator kind of inserted her feelings on social issues. After one lecture, people were speaking with her, asking questions, and complimenting the presentation. I approached her and asked, do you want to see Donald Trump in heaven? She looked like a deer in headlights. A lot of times we as Christians find it easy to talk love. Okay, see, that is an amazing segue.
Very, very amazing
segue to talking about loving the unlovely, who are so plentiful.
So plentiful.
Yeah. And I think that this speaks to the challenge of love. And this is one thing I think that Christianity, I started to say religion in general, but I'll confine it to Christianity since that's what I know the most about. That Christianity in general has gotten wrong is that while we talk about love, our gospel, our theology, it is not based in love. And when any doctrine, theology, teaching is not based in love, it leaves things open for manipulation or for neglect or for harm. Because like what we are seeing in our society right now, where people can look at Donald Trump and say, oh, this is a Christian. No, he is not. No, he is not. He is not read the Bible. Like, no. And we can know he's not because, the Bible says, by this you will know who my disciples are, how they love one another. And if you are not loving others, this is not what Danielle is saying. This is what Jesus said. If you don't love others, you are not part of me.
And at all. That's the biggest issue that I've had with Christianity my whole life is that at least I grew up in, I was born into the Catholic faith. I know that's its own thing. And then while I was in high school, I was a Baptist for a couple of years. And I got really into it. I mean, read the Bible up and down every which way. I was really into it. But I was noticing that my congregation that I was a part of and just Christian society as a whole didn't actually follow the teachings. There was a lot of hypocrisy. And that being one of them, it's like people were supporting and okaying things that were not love, that were not loving actions, and calling it a Christian thing. And it's like, I'm pretty sure if Christ was alive at this time, he would look at that and be like, no, and would flip the tables, but somehow it's okay because somebody interpreted it that way.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're promoting fear, if you're promoting othering and not the service of others, but in the, they're not as good as us, or they're not going to make it to heaven because they're not us or don't believe like we do. When you're promoting that, that's not promoting love.
Yeah.
And if you're not promoting love and being love, then you're not promoting God or being godly, because God is love.
It's true. It's so true. I mean, being raised as I was, and, full marks to my parents, they were very new in the faith, when they got married and when they had us. And so they were giving us the best that they had. And the best that they had was amazing. It was amazing. Full marks to them. But one of the things that I only recently, I probably like this year, really clicked on was that Jesus meant it when he said, this is the standard for getting into heaven. It is not about what you eat. It is not about what you drink. It is not what you wear. It is not about, what day you worship. It is not about any of these things. This is how you get in. Are you feeding the naked? Are you clothing the hungry? Are you taking care of the poor? Are you visiting the prisoner? Are you loving others? Because the only people who are getting in are the people who have figured out how to love. And if you have not figured this out, it doesn't matter whatever else you have done and whatever else you profess and whatever name you said, you can say, Lord, Lord, all you want. If you have not figured out love, you don't get in. And when I realized that, it's like, oh my goodness, there are so many people sitting in so many churches who genuinely think I'm going to get in because I've been here every Saturday or every Sunday and I've paid my tithe and I've done X, Y, and Z. But you are a horrible person.
Exactly.
And you have hurt a lot of people. And I don't think people realize you won't get in. It doesn't matter what else you do. If you have hurt the least of these, you don't get in. Period.
I believe it was Gandhi, and I might be incorrect, who said this, and I'm paraphrasing. I like your Christ, but I don't like your Christians because they're very unlike your Christ.
Yeah, it's Gandhi.
I still have my, reservations and issues with the Christian faith as a whole. I love the persona of Christ, of Jesus, not even removing the Christ, like the Jesus part. This person, took care of everyone, looked at everyone equally. People that even his disciples were like, why are you even in their presence? Why are you even talking to them, let alone touching them? And he's like, we're all equal.
Yeah.
We're all the same. We're all equal. We, he loved everyone unconditionally.
Yeah.
Didn't matter if you were a whore. It didn't matter if you were a prostitute. It didn't matter if you were a thief. Granted, I have my own ideas of this, but let's take Judas, for instance. He never stopped loving Judas, knowing exactly what Judas was doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's love. Love is unconditional. Liking, agreeing, backing up, whatever, that's something completely different. But loving is unconditional.
Yeah.
And I don't see that in a lot of the Christian faith, unfortunately. And I see it more in Christians that have separated themselves from churches. Like that's where you actually see Christianity as it should be, or as it's told to be, is with those that have separated themselves from the church more often than those who are still part of the church. And definitely I've yet to see it in a leader. Okay. Because I'm sorry, power destroys.
And I think that that's an amazing point, honestly, that love and control cannot coexist. They just can't. As soon as you are trying to control someone to make them be what you want them to be, that isn't love. It's not love.
That's manipulation.
Yeah.
That's full-on manipulation. That's not love. Love is loving, regardless of understanding, agreeing, or whatever.
Yeah. Oh man, I wanted to share this little comment by Elle. Oh my goodness. She said, I think what's so beautiful about your friendship is the deep respect you have for each other. You demonstrate that you can have different beliefs, but still respect and offer safety to each other to be your most authentic selves. It's truly beautiful to see. Thank you, Elle.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
That's what we strive for.
Yes. And that's what. Go.
I was just going to say, we're not perfect.
At all.
By no means. But we are, I love seeing us as a possible, example, in a sense of, we don't have to agree with each other. We don't have to follow the same path or whatever to love each other and to be there for each other. And if we can do it, everyone can do it. There's no reason for everyone not to be helping each other. Life's a team effort.
Yeah.
Human beings, we have one planet, we're one team. No matter how many times we try to separate ourselves into little groups, whether it be faiths or countries or whatever, one species, and this is it.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
So why don't we just love each other at the maximum and help each other and support each other and put all the other differences aside?
Exactly. Because there's more things that make us similar than that make us different.
Yes. Yes. And through media and stuff, the differences are what's thrown at us. But let's be honest, the differences aren't much.
Mm-hmm.
Our differences are maybe like 1 or 2%. It's just that's what sells. So that's
Yeah.
what's thrown down our throats. That's how we can be manipulated, is by the differences. That's
Yeah.
what's shoved down our throat through fear. But there's no need for that. There's
Mm,
absolutely no need for it at all.
yeah. Yeah, Mocha's talked about, she made a comment. She says, as Christians, we're supposed to have a burden for souls to be saved. So even someone as despicable, and yes, he is, as Donald Trump,
Mm-hmm.
pedophiles, racists, etc., as Christians, it should be our desire to see them in heaven. It would actually mean there was a transformation
Yes.
within them, that they've been changed. If we don't want to see the unlovable in heaven, you probably won't have to worry about it.
Okay, Mocha, I think you and I could be really good friends too. No, but okay, so you know my fascination with horror, right? And this might
Yes.
seem off track, but I'm
No, go
bringing
for
it
it.
around. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
My fascination with horror isn't just like, oh, scary or whatever. It's the fascination with the villains. And the thing
Mm-hmm.
with the villains is because I don't see them as pure evil. There's
Mm-hmm.
something that happened in their life at some point
Yes. Yes.
that brought them to make the choice to go down that path. And that's usually brought on by abuse, bullying, like just so many like twisted beliefs and stuff like that were ingrained in them, conditioning. It's not actually who they are. So
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in, hey, why don't we look into people's paths, see
Yeah.
what they actually went through to understand? So let's take Donald Trump, villain of villains, if there's ever been a villain,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Um, but if you look at his childhood,
Horrific. Mm-hmm.
horrific to the point that you're like, okay, I can see why he's twisted. Doesn't make it okay, does not condone it, does not excuse it,
Yeah.
but we can understand it. And when we can understand it, then that means that we can love that child that's still in them.
Mm.
So we might not agree or like or want to have anything to do with the adult, but there's still that child before all of
Yeah.
that. That
Yeah.
child deserves love. And if we want them to make better choices, we need to, like, I don't know. I don't know how to say, words are failing me right now. But I'm hoping you understand where I'm coming from. Not that I like the guy. I really don't. I absolutely abhor the man.
No,
Um,
it is
but
so true. It is so true that when we know someone's story, one of the things I say often about myself is like, you know what, Danielle, you're crazy, but you're not crazy.
I love you.
This right here is not the wisest decision. However, in the context of everything else that has happened, we're gonna have this donut.
And here's the thing, being loving doesn't mean that you can't have the other emotions.
There you go.
All the emotions are valid. The
Yeah.
anger, the fear, the hatred, all of that are valid. And they're there for a reason. Not necessarily, like positive reasons, but they're there. Okay. And if you feel that it's valid, now the question is, what are you going to do with that?
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
okay to feel it. Like, don't try to hide the fact that you are angry or upset. Like, no, feel that, process it. Now, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And it's in the what are you going to do that's where you can show love.
Mm. And
You know,
honestly, nothing. There is absolutely nothing that heals like love.
No, exactly.
There's
Absolutely.
nothing. When I share with people, like, one of the things I will always say, that if you are on your healing journey, you need to get you a Loida. You need to get you like 2 or 3 people who are just going to just whoosh you with the love, because that is a secret
Exactly.
sauce. That is,
Exactly.
I would not be as healthy and as healed and as able to show up in the world as I am if I had not had someone like you loving me and
Ditto.
saying,
No, exactly.
you can get up, you can come back, you can figure this out. I am here for you. We will pull together. Like, it just would not have happened had someone not stepped into my world and said, despite the chaos, I see you as good. I see you as lovely. I believe in that inner part of you. I see it. I believe in it, and I'm going to stand right here and call it out. And it makes all the difference.
And one of the things that you've helped me feel is you've always helped me feel like enough, regardless of where I am, how I'm showing up, what I'm feeling. In that moment, I'm still enough. And you've always,
Mm.
always helped me feel that,
Yeah.
and you're right. Like, it takes a village, not just to raise children, but for us adults, because we're pack animals. We
Mm-hmm.
need each other. And that's the reason that people, tend to go towards, like faith communities and churches and things like that, because it is
Yeah.
a group. But
Mm-hmm.
there's still such a separation.
Yeah.
Like being there isn't just sitting next to each other in a pew. It's actually, you know, being able to pick up the phone and, hey, I'm having a hard time. I just need to vent. Or,
Yes.
you know what? Let's just sit on the phone quietly. It's just being present with each other. Because sometimes all we need is just somebody to just sit with us in it, because there's no right thing to say. There's no physical thing that you can do to actually make it better other than just being present.
Yeah.
And you have been present for me,
Mm.
especially since we reunited as full grown adults in our
Yeah.
30s. You have been present for me in a way that's helped me grow and
Mm.
allowed me that freedom, and that you've given me that safety to be like, okay, I can go explore and I can go try this scary thing. And I know that once I'm done doing the scary thing, I can go back to Danielle and she can help me process it. And it's not just you. Like, I also have Gabby, I have Kat, I have
Vicky.
Vicky, like I'm lucky enough to have that group, but I didn't find that group like solidly 100%. This is my people,
Yeah.
until now that I was an adult and I started allowing myself to let love in for me too, because
Yeah.
I had the same walls up that you did and still do,
Yeah.
and I still do to a certain extent.
Yeah. It's a process.
It's
Once
a
you have been hurt, it
process.
is a process. It is a huge, huge process to get to the place where I will let love in. I will let it in. And that I believe that whether or not it results in what I want it to do, that at the end of the day, I can be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Matthew Hussey who said that it's pointless to go through your life wondering, can I trust people? Can I do that? And he's like, maybe you can't. Like, you're not going to know till you get down the road. He said, but the point is not, whether or not I will be hurt in the future, but do I believe I have what it takes to transcend the hurt,
Mm-hmm.
to have it happen, and like, you know what? I can heal. I can
Because
grow.
here's the thing,
Okay.
we're
Yeah.
going to get hurt. Hurt
Yeah.
is
It's
a part
inevitable.
of life.
Hurt is a part of
Okay.
love. If you
And that,
love, you will get
yes,
hurt.
yes. Oh my God. Like when somebody that you love passes, that pain
Mm.
is a pain that will not, like nothing else compares to it.
Mm.
But that pain also shows love. Now, that doesn't mean that pain equals love.
True.
I'm also not going to kink shame for those people that it does mean that.
Yeah,
But
there's that.
in the
Yep,
sense
yum.
of like, that's why I say all feelings are valid.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
feelings are valid. pain is valid, hurt is valid, love is valid. Love presents itself and will show itself in different ways depending on the situation. Sometimes
Yeah.
love feels amazing and like the biggest butterflies in your stomach and you're floating on air and it's absolutely great and nothing can go wrong and nothing can touch you. And other days, love is knowing that you have one of your people there holding you
Mm-hmm.
while you break apart and you allow yourself
Mm-hmm.
to break apart. Because that's the other thing.
Yeah.
To love and to trust is to allow the person seeing you broken.
Yeah.
And you are one of the few people, and one of the first people that I ever allowed to really, that you made me feel safe enough to really allow myself to break. And I believe
Yeah.
you've even told me that before. Break down.
Oh yeah, it because like
You
there are
break
times,
down.
yeah, where it's like it is too much. There's too much pressure. Like you just need to
Break.
let this shatter. And what's going to happen is that you go ahead and you yell and you scream and you cuss and whatever else you need. Let all the pieces fly, and I'm going to catch all the pieces.
Mm-hmm. And then we'll put them back
Pieces. I
together.
will get a broom. I will sweep everything. We will get all the pieces, and then we'll sit down and we will put the puzzle back together. But right now, let it go.
And that's love.
Yeah.
That's one of the many forms of love. And again, yes, like it's important, it's great and lovely to have your romantic partner. Like I am lucky enough to have found my romantic person
And I'm so happy
who's
for you.
he's the best man. Totally gets me, and
And he has
he's
my
also
name.
big.
Oh, I'm just saying.
Yes,
Her
and Vicky's
fiance's name is
birthday.
Dan. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. It was meant to be. It was meant to be.
It was totally meant to be. He was one of the ones, along with you, that finally made me feel safe enough to fully break down, an ugly breakdown, not just the pretty, oh, I'm having a meltdown and I'm having such a hard time. No, legit, like this is ugly. This is
I am on the
hard.
floor. Snot is coming. Like this is yeah. I have lost
There's
control. Yeah.
yes, absolutely. But that's love. That's love.
Yeah.
The roses and the candies and the, whatever. Okay, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
But love is an action, you know?
Yeah.
Love is an action when it really counts, not just for the pretty things. And that doesn't need a particular faith, that doesn't require a particular belief system, that doesn't require a particular God or anything like that. It
Mm.
just is. Love just is in the way that God, from my from what I remember when I was a Christian, just is. In the
Yeah.
same way that the universe to me, which is God is energy to me, it's love, it's just is.
Mm-hmm.
Now what are
Well,
we gonna do with it?
and I mean, and this was huge for me when it clicked that the God is, that there is only one God. There is not the Christian God and the
No.
Muslim God and the Buddhist God and no, there is only one God. And just because I use one name, like just because I say, Jesus and you say universe and somebody else says this, it doesn't necessarily mean that there are more than, no, there's just one. There can
It's just
only
one.
be one. And again, the litmus test of, are we talking about the same person? Even though we're using a different name, the litmus test of if we're talking about the same person is the love. How much do you love? And I think that's why our friendship over the years has worked, because even though we use different words and we approach it in a different way, the love has always been consistent. So if you call it universe and I call it God, the love has still been the same. It has been
It's no
exactly
different.
the same.
It's no different than having different languages. For example, a chair
Mm-hmm.
is a chair, but in Spanish it's a silla.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean it's different. Doesn't make it two totally different things. So, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the way that I tend to view like your typical religions.
Mm-hmm.
It's they're all the same. They're just calling it something different. It's a different language that they're using, but the meaning and intention behind it is still the same.
Mm-hmm. And I think if we started asking ourselves, what does your faith say about love? We would find that we have so much more. I mean, and you see it. You see it when Muslims come out to form a human chain to protect the synagogue, you know, or when they come out and
That's
protect the
love.
mosque. That is love.
That is
That
love.
is love.
And I don't remember where I heard it or when it happened, but I remember at some point there being a group of Christians who made a huge circle around those of the Muslim faith to be able to, so that they could pray safely
Yes.
when it was
Yeah.
time for them, when it was time for their prayers, in order to keep them safe.
Yes.
That's love, people.
Yes.
That's what interfaith love means. That's what love is. That's what God is.
That's where God is. Yeah.
God
Hey,
is.
Wobbles.
You can hear him.
We have this, every time my friends come, their dogs want to say hello. So, guys, that's Wobbles you hear in the background.
That's my baby. He's a little Maltese. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's what love is, and I wish that that's what was taught and pushed, and instead of the fear,
Mm.
you know, like there's no need for the fear. We're
And so often
different.
we are afraid.
So
Yeah.
what? Like,
Yeah.
why are we so afraid of what we don't know? We should look at that as a form of excitement. Oh, I don't know that, but you do. You can teach me.
Mm-hmm.
But
Exactly.
we're so conditioned to not do that. Oh, don't learn anything about it. Don't read anything about it. Don't see anything about it, because then you're going to be brainwashed or whatever. And it's like, education is the most important thing. And how are we going to learn to love in all these different ways if we don't educate ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
And if we're just afraid, we can't. We
Yeah.
can't love when we are only, when we're only taught to fear.
Yeah. And we can't love when we only love the people who are like us,
Because
the
that's not
people who
love.
look like us or believe like us, because that's not love either. Yeah.
That's discrimination.
That's discrimination. I must remember sending you that clip once we get off of here. Yeah. I mean, okay, so my 90s babies are probably going to remember this. There was a song by Sandy Patty. And I mean, and you might know this one because you were in that environment during that time. Love in Any Language. It was a song that everybody was singing all the time. We did it in sign language. We did all the things. And the chorus said, "Love in any language, straight from the heart, pulls us all together." I can't believe I actually remember this all these years later. Pulls us all together, never apart. And once we learn to speak it, all the world will hear love in any language, fluently spoken here. And like in the verses, like they actually would sing in different languages, about love. And it was this idea that love is meant to be the unifying force that crosses gender, that crosses race, that crosses economics, that crosses borders, that it is love that unites. It is love that unites the universe. Because like you said, love is not just for the Homo sapiens. Love is for everyone and
all
everything.
species.
Yeah. That all things are meant to be touched and held by love, because it is the thing that holds us all together. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. Macy said, "Love that song. Oh, such a great song." Yeah, if you were in the 90s, like you heard that song all the time with your little candle. Love in every language, straight from the heart. Because your kid does, of course, sing it badly, but
but like, to me, it's like the people who spread that message, those are the leaders we should be looking up to. It's like, yes, the fire, the brimstone, all that kind of stuff. Not saying that there isn't a time and place for it, because yes, at least historically, there's definitely a time and place to learn about it. But if we're going to be spreading a message, why not spread that message of, loving everyone and in every language? And there's, just letting it in.
And those are the people, the people whose legacy lives on the longest, the people whose words that we quote and whose examples we try to follow are the people who are known for how much they loved and how much they gave for what they loved. I mean, yes, we still talk about, dictators like Hitler and the like, and there are some people, God help them, who are, trying to bring that back. But but the people who we light candles for, the people that we name our children for, the people they are the Martin Luther Kings, the people who gave and sacrificed for something that they truly love, for people that they love, for a cause that they loved. That is the thing that builds legacy and community.
And the important thing, probably this might be a little bit of a sidebar, but for me, one of the important things to remember is that these people also weren't perfect.
Exactly. And you don't have to be love.
And you don't have to be. That's the beautiful thing. Because if you look at, okay, so what do you think when you think Gandhi?
Okay, so obviously, there's the picture of, religious people and everything, but because we have also studied, we know that, pedophile and misogynist, and there's some other not so lovely things. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. But that doesn't mean that some of his message wasn't good.
Exactly.
Martin Luther King, amazing human being. He was a womanizer.
Mm-hmm.
Cheated on his wife so many times.
Yeah.
That does not take away from his message. That doesn't mean we condone the actions, but that doesn't need to take away from the message.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that because sometimes when we look at these people, we only look at just, the good, and
this is true.
We tend to put them up on this pedestal without realizing they're no different than you and me.
There you go. It's true.
They were just in the right time and place for their message to be heard by the right people who were there at the right time and place, that then it spread. But they're no different than you and me. They're no different than Mocha. They're not different than, like anybody else that's listening to this, or any and everybody else.
Mm.
We're all equal.
Yes.
We are all equal. We all have our moments when we say something brilliant. We all have our moments when we are not the best. And that's okay, because part of love is acknowledging that.
Yeah. Making
and
room
loving
for it.
Regardless. Yeah. Because that's part of the human experience.
Yes.
That's part of the human experience.
Oh man, Macia said we are all capable of spreading the love despite our imperfections.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfectly said.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, our time is running out.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, because I listen, when we get going, oh my goodness. Okay, so what are the top 3 things that you would want people to take away from this discussion about love?
You're somebody else's other. So in the same way that it is, if of Christian faith, it is a responsibility to be of service. Part of your service is to allow other people to be of service to you.
Yeah.
And to allow that love in. And this goes for any faith, religion, whatever, or not.
I'm going to take that. I had never thought of that before. So thank you for that. Yeah. That's huge. Huge.
Love in every language, like you said, honestly, like there is no, so long as you're loving and you're coming from the best place that you can in the moment that you are in, that's what matters.
Yeah.
What faith you are, what you name things, what book you're reading, whatever, none of that matters. Love is doing the best that you can and loving in the best way that you can in the moment that you are in. And that's enough.
Yes. Yes.
And loving yourself is just as important. Loving yourself is, and that's one of the hardest things. That's a lesson that I'm working on right now. And it's a journey, but it is worth it
It
because
is.
we are just as important and we matter just as much.
Yeah.
And we need to take care of us so that we can take care of others.
Yeah.
Think of it as maintenance, if nothing else.
There you go.
A
There you
car
go.
can't run if it isn't maintained. So if you want to be able to be of service to others and love to the best, capability and whatever, you need to put some of that in you too.
100%. Oh my gosh, guys. I really, really, really hope you have enjoyed this conversation about love. Listen, if I could wish something for everyone in the world, it would be that they find their Loida.
Oh, I want everybody to
I
find their Danielle. But it looks
listen,
like your little group here has, and I'm very happy about that.
but like the the biggest takeaway I want you to take would be to let love in. The thing that Loida has been drilling into me for years, to let love in, because it changes everything. I mean, like the song says, hands and faces, earth and sky. It changes how you live, how you die. It Let love in, and understand this. I guess my two, that love does not have to come in the package that you were told love
No,
was in.
no. Most of the time, it won't.
It won't. Yeah. It may
So,
not come in the romance package, it may not come in the it came from my church package, but love is always looking for you. Love is always trying to find and express its
exactly.
heart for you. It is always, literally always there. And if you just look around, if you open and make some room, it will be there. 100% all the time. It will be there. Even if it's
Give
a stranger,
yourself the
somebody.
chance. Give
Yeah.
yourself the chance to turn around and look at the other side because that's probably where love is instead of the corner you've been staring at.
Yeah. Oh my
Oh my God,
goodness.
I love it.
I love it. Okay, I'm going to close with this last one,
Yes.
and it comes from Mocha. She says, okay, Loida, you really need a TikTok channel where
Oh
you make
God.
clicking sounds and brush feathers over a mic for insomniacs. Side hustle, just a thought. I co-sign.
Of course you do. I will think about it, Mocha. Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness. You
Oh,
guys, thank you
thank
so
you.
much for joining us tonight. Next week, we are going to be back and we are going to be discussing suicide. We're going to be discussing
Oh,
suicide. It's a biggie, but it's really necessary because
it
we're
is.
coming into the holiday season. This is when, suicide attempts tend to go up. We want to address this. So yes, please join us here next week. We discuss suicide. And hopefully, you guys, if anyone was out there thinking about it, listen, love. There is all this love. You don't need to. There's love. There is love. So thank you again, Loida, for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was awesome.
Absolutely. My
I love
sissy.
you. I
Love
love
you
you,
too.
Sissy. Bye.
See you guys next week and have a good one.